3, 2.
All right, and we're back. And
We're
guess
back.
what? We have video today.
We got video!
Hi.
Hello, this is what we look like. This is how ugly Adrian is.
Hey, look at
Hey.
he's talking.
Hey.
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 So yeah, welcome back to the Adrian and Matt podcast, where for the first time we have video.
Yeah, a long break,
Yeah. Had some
technical difficulties on
yes.
a huge scale.
My laptop's memory got erased, and
It included our 4th episode, which is, well, it's this is our 4th episode, but our previous recording of the 4th episode, which was just audio, but now we're video.
Yep, we got video.
So now you can see us.
So since we've been gone, there's been a few things that happened in sports. So the biggest thing was probably the Olympics.
The Olympics. I'm gonna go ahead and take off.
Okay.
Just to point it out. Go Sems, go.
Go Leafs, go.
Number one.
So
there.
Our lost 4th episode. We did sort of like a
Please in the comments tell me how bad my hair is, because I know it's bad. Just tell me.
So we did like a sort of pre-Olympics thing. We did it like on day 3, right?
Yeah.
So there were already some medals given out.
Yeah.
But that's lost. So just a quick recap. For Canada, came 3rd in golds with 10, behind Norway, who had 11, and Russia, who had 13. And Canada had 25 gold overall. If I'm not mistaken, that's one less than they got in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, I think they had 26 in Vancouver.
Right. So it was pretty successful. 10 gold and 10 silver. Like, that's not bad. So what do you want to talk about first about the Olympics?
I want to talk about the hockey. Obviously,
right,
the biggest topic of the Winter Olympics every year. I mean, you can always argue that skiing is the top or the curling is the top, but really, hockey is always the top. Canada winning gold once again. Very happy about that. Back-to-back gold. The women also won, that was an incredible game. Did you watch the game? The final game between the U.S. and Canada was a surprise.
Yeah.
No, it's always those two. I mean,
for women's hockey, it's just Canada and USA right now, anyway.
Yeah.
There's some
Japan's actually coming.
Switzerland's getting good.
Switzerland got bronze.
Yeah.
So very good.
Sweden's sort of there.
They're coming along. Though.
Yeah,
it's a great sport. It's great hockey.
Yeah, it is good. It's I think better hockey than most people would expect.
Yeah.
Especially like between Canada and USA, it's actually fun to watch because it's very intense.
It's also rather violent sometimes because these ladies, they don't exactly like each other.
No. So yeah, the women won gold
in a dramatic fashion. If you didn't watch the game, were they down 3-0?
2-0.
Oh, 2. Yeah, it was 2-0. With like 5 minutes to go.
Probably.
I think it was under 5 minutes to go. Canada was up, or USA was up 2-0, and Canada scored. I think with 4 minutes to go. I think we don't actually have the game game sheet in front of us, but I'm pretty sure it was like 4 or 3 minutes to go to get it to 2-1, and then a little bit of controversy. The referee got in the way of one of the Canadian defensemen, and the Canadian. I keep saying U.S. I can't stop. The Canadian net was empty. Canadian team was opting for 6 people on the ice.
Yeah. So
U.S. fired it down, and the puck hit the post.
Yep.
It hit the post. That's how close the U.S. came to just icing the game.
From about 150 feet away.
And it hit the post. So that allowed Canada to keep the game going. Boom, with 55 seconds left, Michelle Poulin, captain. Was she captain?
No.
She wasn't captain? Who's captain?
Ouellet. Wait, yeah, Ouellet.
Was it Wallet?
Caroline Ouellet.
Oh, okay. Poulin was the hero of the Vancouver games, if you remember, as well as these games, because she scored
the game tying goal,
and in overtime on a 5-on-3 power play for Canada in overtime, which is actually very rare.
Yeah.
Let alone for any power play. In overtime, Canada won it on the stick of Michelle Poulin.
Yeah.
So dramatic fashion, very very good game.
Yeah. I actually didn't watch it because this is what happened, right? So I watched the first period and nothing happened. Or did U.S. go up in the first?
I think the U.S. went up 1-0 in the first.
So it was 1-0, and then when U.S. scored the second goal, I said, "Screw it! I'm not watching Canada lose." So I went out to go grocery shopping, and I had it on the radio, and then Canada scored as I'm leaving my house. And then as I'm about to get out of my car to go grocery shopping, they scored the second goal. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wish I was watching it, but I didn't. And then I'm finished. I'll get back in the car. Oh, and what a great win for Canada. I'm like,
yeah, I watched only the overtime because I was busy for the first and second.
Right.
And in the third, I was apparently supposed to go get my sister from school. But I was told to just wait in the car for a call back. So I waited in the car, whatever. I didn't feel like listening to music, so I turned on the radio. The women's game's like, okay, I'll listen to this. And I was flipping everything in the car. I was flipping out in the car.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then I never got the call, so I'm like, I'm just going to go inside and watch the overtime. So, yeah, I watched that, and again, I was flipping out when Canada scored. It was awesome.
It was a good game.
Yeah, great game.
So let's talk about men's hockey.
Switching to the men's. It's a great tournament.
Yeah, it was. So heading into it, the first game was against Norway, right?
Norway, yeah.
And Canada won 3-1.
3-1.
Which was a surprise because
It's
Norway. It's Norway. They don't have a particularly good team. I think they have one or two NHLers on their team.
Yeah, I think it's one or two.
So
I don't know
obviously, Canada expecting a blowout win and didn't get it, and that kind of had people worried about goal scoring. And then
next game
they shut out
Austria
6-0. So
with Luongo's one start, stopped all 23 shots. So
that sort of seemed to get the ball
black
rolling.
Jerseys.
Yep. So now who's
black in black? I can't sing.
No. So the third game was against Finland, correct?
Yes.
Where they won 3-2 in overtime?
2-1 in overtime.
2-1 in overtime.
2-1 in overtime.
Okay. Right, because
Drew Doughty on scoring.
Doughty! So Drew Doughty, probably the best defenseman in the best defenseman in the tournament.
No.
Who? Okay.
Erik Karlsson.
Okay, you're saying
he was named the top defenseman.
Yeah, but let's face it, without Drew
Doughty...
He's
with Doughty on the all-tournament team. That's his partner.
Okay, fair enough.
But top defenseman of the tournament, you can't argue, was definitely Erik Karlsson. For Canada, Doughty, obviously.
Doughty, yeah, but
in tournaments, I'm not a little biased, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're a little biased, but
he was the scoring leader as well.
Okay, fair enough, but I feel like Doughty scored bigger goals because he had like 2 or 3 game winners. Canada easily might not even make it to the gold medal game without him. And
they don't win that overtime game. Well, that's a problem.
Okay.
Although they have to play another round. Then.
Okay, so opinions aside,
all right.
He played well. Carlson played well.
They both played well.
Yeah, and
great tournament.
So Canada beat Finland 2-1 off the stick of Drew Doughty.
Yeah. Moving on to Latvia, and guess where I watched that game?
Where?
The Hockey Hall of Fame.
Nice.
I was in the Hockey Hall of Fame watching that game. And the funny thing was, I was standing beside a couple of American guys. They're in their USA jerseys and everything. And when they're rooting for Canada, and I said to them, like, guys, like, wouldn't you rather play Latvia? They're like, no, we'd rather play Canada. More of a challenge. I'm like, your funeral. Okay.
Well,
I was actually worried about that game.
Yeah, I was too. So
very worried.
First of all, where I watched Latvia game was on my phone in class.
Yeah, I did that at
school. Yeah.
I watched all the snowboard event in lecture.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
So yeah, the Latvia game was a bit of a scare too.
Yeah, that goallie for Latvia.
He played.
I forget his name. That was phenomenal. Exactly.
Canada had 54 shots and he only had 2 goals in. He played
just incredible.
He played unreal. And he was cramping up at the end of the game. So
that was another thing. The Americans were were laughing because he was always down on the ice. Like
but
after all the plays, they were laughing. It was actually
54 shots. Like possession might have been like 70% in Canada's favor. Like it was a close game, but it wasn't as close as the score appeared.
No. I mean, Canada just dominated the whole game.
Yeah.
There were a few breaks, a few moments where Canada was tested, but the whole game was pretty much spent in the Latvian end.
Yeah, definitely. So they won that one 2-1?
2-1. Okay.
All
right, you want to move on to the U.S.-Canada game? So that was probably the best game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, like, not in terms of, like, skill-wise, obviously, but, I mean, just, like, nail-biting, like, tension. It was just a great game.
I mean, you had Phil Kessel, who was arguably in the top 5 hottest players at the time.
Yeah.
Him with JVR, those two really have good chemistry.
Obviously, teammates switch around.
Yeah, so they showed it off in this tournament. And then on Canada, just the high talent. You got like Taves, Crosby.
Of course, they didn't score.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
until
not in that game.
Until it mattered.
They scored in the game that mattered.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. So anyway, Canada USA. I actually stayed home from school to watch this game.
I watched that game. I was where was I? I was downtown again. I was going for lunch with my mom.
Yeah.
And in the building, they set up these big TVs in the food court.
Nice.
And like every guy in place was like just sitting in
I
front of this TV, just watching. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was when Kessel got that penalty late in the game, Canada was already up 1-0. When Kessel got that penalty, this guy sitting beside me in a Leafs jersey gets up. He's like, "Suck it, Kessel!" Everyone was yelling, and the best part was when it was over, some guy just stood up. He's like, "Okay, everybody back to work." It's an office building.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Everybody's there in suits. I'm there in a Canada shirt.
Yeah.
Whatever. I wore this shirt, I think, 5 days in a row.
Gross.
Just cause. It's a little gross, but I don't care.
I understand why that.
Yeah.
Gross. Did you wear it in public for 5 days straight?
No.
Okay. Then that makes sense.
Well, a little bit in public.
Like in the latter of the 5 or like early on in the 5?
Well, I bought this the day of the Latvia game.
Okay.
I didn't wear it that day, but I wore it every day since.
Okay.
So pretty much only on the game days I wore it a lot. I would like wear it a little bit on the days that there wasn't a game, but I didn't wear it a lot.
Okay.
So,
fair enough.
But I did put it on at some point. Around 5 days. It's a little gross, but
yeah. So Canada shut out the USA. Carey Price got the shutout. He played well.
Oh, he was on whole turn.
Yeah.
Just on fire.
So and then after that, just before we get to the gold medal game, USA just completely defeated.
Oh yeah.
I mean, people
that was
say
something else.
people say North America doesn't care about the bronze medal game, and
you want to win something.
Yeah, and like I've heard this a lot that bronze meant more to Finland than it did to USA. And I completely agree with that.
It definitely did. I mean,
you
let alone just the whole team, but I mean, Teemu Selanne.
Yeah, Teemu Selanne.
This is his last.
This is the last Olympics. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, unless he's Superman, which he very well could be.
Yeah, or Chris Chelios played at 48. Well, he didn't play in the NHL too. He was 48. You could just tell USA didn't have it with them on the even against Canada, they didn't play that great.
No,
they played above average.
They just couldn't. They couldn't.
Not good enough.
No. Exactly.
And so in that gold medal game, they just fell apart. I didn't watch all of it. I just watched part of it, and I didn't expect them to win because it was the bronze medal game. But I didn't expect it to be 5-1. I thought they would put up a little more of a fight.
Yeah.
Because they had, Americans were saying like that was the best team they've sent to the Olympics ever.
Honestly, it looked like
right?
They ever sent to the Olympics. You know, they're still going on about the miracle on ice.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, it was a great game.
Yeah.
I've actually watched the game.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good game. It was obviously great for USA hockey.
Right.
The funny thing was, it was the semifinals.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they won at that game. I mean, they played Finland in the finals. And back then, Finland wasn't exactly the powerhouse that they are now. I mean, they're a powerhouse in international hockey.
Yeah, they are.
Do they have an entire NHL roster? Or do they have like one or two guys?
They had Leo Komarov, former Leaf. The guy who could play without a blade on his stick.
Yeah.
All he does is hit people. He was on the team. I think there was one guy, I remember they're talking about him, a really fast player. I don't remember his name though.
I know there was, Sweden had one guy that wasn't NHL. So, I mean, the big teams are pretty much just NHL teams.
And just about USA, there was one noticeable omission. Your Ottawa Senator.
Yeah, Bobby Ryan.
He was on the silver medal winning team.
There you go.
Words. In Vancouver. So I didn't pay much attention to it because it's the Ottawa Senators, who suck.
Oh, well. Winning yesterday, by the way, 5-3 against the Winnipeg Jets.
All right, we'll get to that.
Jets, Jets. No, that's New York.
And then,
but I like to say it because it's fun.
And I don't pay that much attention to U.S. hockey, so.
No, U.S. hockey's.
I think he should have been on the team though. He's a great player.
Oh, he's a great player.
Yeah, and I liked him.
Intense.
Yeah.
Does he have intensity?
I liked him.
I think he has intensity.
Yeah, and you look at he's played with high skilled players. I'm biased,
but I mean, he's got intensity. He's an outstanding player.
He is. I agree with that.
And that was probably the biggest omission on the team.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So okay, let's move on to the gold medal game.
Gold medal game. It was
Canada and Sweden.
Right? I didn't see anything spectacular.
Well, that's the thing. You didn't see anything spectacular because Canada played so well defensively.
I mean, that was an absolute defensive lockdown the entire game.
I mean,
Sweden couldn't do anything.
Their entire team was frustrated. You could see that. They were turning the puck over like they haven't done all tournament. They were making terrible passes, just poor decisions.
Little
with the
note
puck.
on passes.
Yeah.
They clocked one of Carlson's passes yesterday, 117 kilometers an hour. And they compared that to Alex Hemsky's wrist shot, 118 kilometers an hour.
Right.
A pass. At 117.
So back to the gold
Back to the gold medal game.
Canada played just the best. Honestly, that's the best defensive game I've seen like in my entire life.
Yeah, that was the best. Guaranteed.
I don't know if there will be a better defensive game because they played so well. Carey Price didn't have to make a lot of saves, but he was counted on.
Yeah, exactly.
They were able to count on him.
Exactly.
So Crosby, Kunitz, and
good job, Carey, if you're watching.
And you suck.
But you're not
now because you're in Montreal now, and you're not.
You know, YouTube's worldwide.
Yeah, well, Montreal's.
What are you doing?
Montreal, they suck. Come on, you're
the Canadians suck, not the city. You're saying.
Well, okay, thanks.
I'm asking if Carey Price is watching, not that.
I don't care if if he is watching.
That's great.
He can suck it, cause
give us a retweet.
Cause I honestly like I said this 2 months before the Olympics. Carey Price is the best Canadian goalie we have now. And someone disagreed with me and said Luongo. That's a debate for a different day.
The new Florida Panther. We'll get to that.
More to come later.
More to come.
But honestly, I think
why we need like ads. We need a commercial in the middle.
Yeah. Well, this is low production. All right. So
low production.
Fairly low production.
Low budget.
Low budget. Same thing.
You mean no budget?
No budget, really. So Carey Price
we don't have any money.
is a great goalie, and Montreal is nowhere without him this year.
Oh, absolutely nowhere.
Even last year, he had a poor season, but the team was just so bad last year.
That was one of the best quarterfinal matchups I've ever seen.
Which one? The
Ottawa Montreal.
Oh yeah.
That was you gotta admit, even if you're not a Montreal or Ottawa fan, you watched that series because it just got so intense. Nobody expected that.
That's where Eller got hit, right? Yeah.
The first game by Greiber, who scored yesterday.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, there's been a couple recent matchups in playoffs that I've seen that I've actually watched. I'm not a fan of either. Yeah. The best one in my opinion, the best one that I've seen in a few years, like in terms of intensity. Yeah. Philly, Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
2 years ago.
That was good.
That was just a great rivalry matchup.
Yeah,
Battle of Pennsylvania. That was.
I mean, Crosby and Giroux, the two highest skilled players on those teams, dropping the gloves.
Crosby pulling Hurtle's hair.
Yeah. So okay, we'll get 20 games.
Playoffs later.
There's less than 20 games left now in the NHL, so we'll get to the playoffs. In a later podcast.
Yeah, maybe next podcast.
Yeah. So Canada, Sweden. Stay tuned. Canada, Sweden played so well. It was such a good game it was almost boring to watch because Canada played so well.
Yeah. It was a dull game. Yeah. But, I mean, you liked it because Canada won.
Yeah, and
simple. I watched that game at home.
Yeah, so did I. And
I wasn't out for that one.
Right. Well, it was at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, out at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've been out. I used to wake up every morning, like 4:45 to get down to the lake in time for rowing practice.
Oh yeah. Mr. Rowing guy over here.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, New
York. So yeah, great game to watch. Sort of, depending on who you're cheering for.
Obviously, there was a little bit of controversy before the game. Was it Cromwell?
No, it was Backstrom.
Oh, Backstrom. Okay, Backstrom getting
the Swedish Backstrom.
Swedish Backstrom, yeah. Nicholas Backstrom.
Nicholas.
Not being able to play because of Benadryl.
Wasn't it?
Was it Benadryl or
Claritin?
Oh, it was Claritin. Okay.
So
allergy medicine.
An allergy medicine, and I don't remember if you told me this, but somebody told me that before the Olympics he went to the the committee or whatever, and he's like, hey, I'm taking Claritin, but there's like a banned substance in it. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's just Claritin. And then an American guy called him out on that, and that's what kept him out of the game.
I didn't hear about that. No.
I don't know if I remember who I heard it from. I don't know how reliable he is, but that's like a theory, a controversial theory. So if that's true, they wouldn't have won the game with him. But
no.
that would have been the biggest game of his life.
Yeah.
To this day, anyway.
Because he's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
We're going to see him again.
He's fairly young. He's like 26, 27.
Exactly.
Um,
We're going to see him.
right. So,
all right, that's pretty much all. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all there is for the Olympics. I mean, we could talk about other stuff, but we gotta move on.
Okay, so let's move on to trade deadline.
Trade deadline.
Which happened. What's today?
Today is Sunday.
So 4 days ago was the NHL trade deadline, and
if you didn't watch it,
it was actually I don't know how many trades.
But I mean,
I don't know how many trades exactly there were, but it seemed like almost every trade involved a relatively big name.
And arguably the biggest one of the day was San Luis going to the Rangers for Ryan Callahan. A little bit of captain swapping going on.
And a couple first-round picks.
There were a couple first-rounders.
Yeah, there was.
I didn't see the first-round.
It was Callahan. It was Callahan and a first-round pick and a conditional second-round pick for St. Louis.
Okay.
And I don't know what the conditions are, but the pick.
Obviously playoffs.
And the pick turns into a first-round pick if the certain conditions are met.
Okay.
So potentially 2 first-round picks and Callahan for St. Louis. For a 38-year-old player, that's a great return. So even starting the day before, March 5th was the deadline. On March 4th, there were a few pretty sizable
the Rangers
trades.
reached the Eastern Conference Final.
Okay.
And then they get a first round.
Right. So that's a great return for a 38-year-old player.
Yeah.
Who clearly didn't want to be with the franchise anymore with sort of discrepancy between him and Yzerman. It seemed like. I mean, we can only speculate.
Yeah.
But that's what it seemed like.
We don't know what's actually going on inside that locker room, inside that building. So
right.
I mean,
so
it's tough to say.
Yeah. So the day before, there were a few trades really. So the first noticeable one was Dustin Penner getting traded.
Dustin Penner.
And this one move.
Big name.
Because he won the Stanley Cup with Anaheim, didn't he?
No, he did, but I'm just saying that wasn't a good
time. Oh right, your Ottawa Senators. I forgot about that. But he's a good player, and he's playing with their top. He's in their top 6, and they get a 4th round pick for him, and it looked like Anaheim would make another move after this because you're trading away a top 9 player at least. On a playoff team for nothing in return, really.
Exactly.
So it was just odd to me. That trade. The second one, Brizgalov. His brief time in Anaheim. Edmonton.
Has come to an end.
What was
and the funny thing is, he's going to the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Bears will find him there.
The Bears. In the forest.
The Bears in the forest.
Find
him there.
So I don't know if I found this shocking so much as hilarious because he's just like I remember when he was in Phoenix and he was so good in Phoenix.
Oh yeah, he was on fire in Phoenix.
And then
he's a good goalie.
And nobody was talking about him.
No,
so
because it's Phoenix. No one talks about anything.
He wasn't talking about bears in the universe. No. He wasn't distracted. And then there was the controversy of him not signing with Phoenix because they were. Thought they might move back to Winnipeg. Yeah. He didn't want to be in Winnipeg.
No.
So all that aside, his story, he's been a bit of a sideshow.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he still is.
I think it's good that Edmonton got rid of him. Got rid of him.
Yeah, I agree.
All they got is a 4th round pick. Honestly, I think that's what he's worth.
Yeah.
Like these days, because of the distraction, because of the just because of his play as of late, it's exactly what he's worth. The 4th rounder. Maybe a 3rd.
I would have given him up for a 7th because
7th.
He's not a player I would want on my team, to be honest with you.
Then throw him on waivers. Someone will find him.
2 or 3 years ago, maybe, but not now.
Yeah.
So Edmonton not done with goalies there as they acquire Victor Fast from Anaheim.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know. So for a 5th and 3rd round pick. That's a pretty good return for Anaheim on a goalie. Because Anaheim, they have John Gibson.
Yeah, but Victor Foster, you gotta remember. I mean, this is a little surprising because remember he had that breakout season 2 years ago.
I think it was just last year.
It was just last year.
Yeah.
Well, he changed his mask from that cool matte black thing.
Right.
Now it's an actual design. But I mean, it's a little surprising that it's only a 5th and a 2015 3rd rounder for Fast. I mean, I'm surprised that Anaheim was it Anaheim? Yeah, it's the Ducks. Wouldn't have asked for another player. I mean, I don't know who would you grab? Maybe just a prospect.
Right.
But I mean,
I agree with you there, but the thing is, if you look at all the trades that were to come later, which we'll get to, that was about like the return rate. Like there wasn't big name players for, in my opinion, quite small return. So we'll get to that later. So I think that
it's actually really surprising. Yeah, that was a trend throughout the entire day.
So I think that trade was undervalued for Anaheim, but it was right on par for the rest of the trades.
Yeah, it went with the other trades. I mean,
yeah. So another one, Stefan Robitaille, who's a warrior.
Yeah.
He's a great player. Traded.
Suffered a broken leg on 29th of November.
Right.
So he's back finally.
So the Ducks actually acquired him. For a 4th round pick. That one, not much shock. He was expected to be traded, and he's not necessarily a big name. So that one wasn't that big of a deal.
No, it was just everybody knows who Stefan Robidas is. He's one of those guys who's good on the lower lines.
Yeah.
He's a good either third line, probably more of a 4th line grinder. Really, I mean, he's thrown in there. Okay, then
third line
defenseman.
But he's also a good leader, and that's hard to find. So the next big one was
a solid stay-at-home defenseman.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what you want.
So the second one was Andrew McDonald to Philly for a second and third round pick and a minor league center. I don't know.
Mangine. Is that how you pronounce it?
Matt Mangine? Okay,
I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Not
a big trade.
No. I think a second and a third. That's about right. Too.
Yeah, for McDonald.
I think he's an underrated player. I'm not saying he's spectacular, but just because he played on the island.
He got a low contract too, or he did with the Islanders, only $550,000.
Yeah, he was a guy who he's a puck moving defenseman. He's a good skater. Nothing that'll necessarily jump out on you, but he is a very good, reliable player. And because we've seen this before, good players not getting the recognition because they play in in low market on low market teams. So he was one of those players. Nothing too but again, he was another player who was expected to get traded at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the biggest, maybe most surprising deal of the day.
Is this the one I think you're talking about?
Yeah. Roberto Luongo getting traded back to the team he got drafted by, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sure he's very happy.
To Florida.
Well, he is happy.
Yeah.
Made it.
For Jacob Markstrom, and Sean Matthias.
It's a good trade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Why technology? Why?
Technology sucks. So we have more technical difficulties.
Yeah. Not good.
Whatever. You don't have to hear about us complain.
No.
So back to the Luongo trade.
We're going to move on to the Luongo trade. Well, not move on. We're going to move back to the Luongo trade.
Right. So again, Markstrom and Matthias for Luongo and another player. What was your take on the trade?
I like it. I think it's finally been done. I mean, this trade must have been in the works for a while. When was it made? When was it like? I mean, it's obviously been out there for a while. Yeah. Luongo should have been traded. Yeah. I believe he should have been traded last year.
Yeah, really.
At the draft instead of Corey Schneider. But it's finally been done. I'm very happy with it. I'm sure Luongo's happy.
Yeah.
Back in his home state. Well, not his home state, but might as well be his home state. Really. He spent so many years there. And didn't he win his first game?
Yeah, you got a shout out his first game.
Yeah. So
this deal, I think it caught people off guard.
I don't think it caught people off guard.
I think just
everybody knew it.
Well, I don't think everybody knew it because it seemed like they had Eddie Lack behind him, and Luongo was going to be the starter.
Who's their backup?
Markstrom and Lack, two Swedes. I think everyone knew something was going on when they kept him out of the Heritage Classic game.
Oh, I knew. Everybody knew. You did not know that he was going to get traded.
Because
everybody knew he was going to get traded.
Did you really think Canucks are still fighting for a playoff spot? And
yeah,
do you think they had confidence in Eddie Lack moving on to the playoffs? They didn't trade Kessler, so
that was a surprise. That was a surprise to me.
So keeping Kessler shows that they still have some intent of making the playoffs, and then
every team has the intent of making the playoffs. It's just not every team does it.
Right.
Ottawa's not going to make it this year.
Right.
Well, I hope they do, but they're probably not going to.
But if you look at
Leafs
teams,
will.
if you look at teams that are out of a playoff spot, and the trade deadline is when you decide whether you're going to try to make it and sell your arm and a leg to make it, or you're going to chop your team up and get more other pieces in, right?
Yeah.
And
I still think that everybody saw this coming. I saw Florida. I saw a lot. Everybody knew. Like you said, I mean, everyone knew something was up after he was kept out of the Heritage Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't keep your number one goalie out of the biggest
Yeah.
game of the season. I mean, well, not the biggest game of the season, but I mean, well, maybe it was the biggest game of the season.
most
I mean,
biggest spectacle.
yeah,
season
biggest
for them.
hyped game of the season. I mean, except like the second to Calgary, Vancouver.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But and then they're now like they're back to another controversy really because they have a 26-year-old Swedish goaltender who was a great prospect 6 years ago, and now he's sort of fluttered off. And Eddie Lack, and it looks like they're gonna go with Eddie Lack.
I think you got to go with Eddie Lack. I mean, he's now your guy. I mean,
but I mean, like really, you just have like if they don't get another goalie 2 or 3 years from now, they're gonna have another controversy. So I think they're just circling back to where they were with Longo and Schneider. So yeah.
All right, moving on. What trade do you want to talk about next?
Just quickly, Runeblad to Chicago for a second.
Well.
So Runeblad, former senator, to Chicago. Martin Erat.
I believe he was a senator.
Martin Erat, who was acquired for Philip Forsberg 2 years ago or last year. Terrible trade in my opinion. So he gets dealt to Phoenix, and Rostislav Klesla, I don't know if you heard this, but he's actually not going to report to Washington. Oh no, sorry, he got traded to Buffalo.
Who are we talking about?
Klesla.
Oh yeah.
He got traded. He's not going to report to Buffalo because he wants to play in New York now.
Well, he's in New York. He's in New York. New York State.
What do you mean?
Well, he said he didn't want to report to Buffalo because he wants to play in New York.
No, in Europe.
Oh, in Europe. I heard New York.
No, Europe.
Sorry.
So
Gary's not all that good.
Saying the next was that the first deal of the day?
That might have been
the St. Louis Callahan.
That was definitely the biggest one of the day.
Yeah, definitely. We already touched on that.
Yeah.
Do you have? I don't really have anything to add on that one.
No, it wasn't a big trade. That's all right. I didn't really follow it that much.
Right. So the next one, the Senators get Alex Hemsky.
Yeah, that was a fairly big one.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
They don't give up too much, a 3rd and a 5th round pick. So that's a pretty good deal. For both teams really. Edmonton, you don't get much back, but they weren't getting much out of him anyway. And obviously he wanted to move on. They wanted for him to move on. So
how are you not young? 10 times.
I don't know. I'm gonna
now. It was funny because in the CBC broadcast yesterday of the Sens Jets game, it was funny because Hemsky got 3 points, I think.
Yeah.
3 or 4 points yesterday.
I think it was 3.
It was three assists.
3 assists. He played well.
Playing very well, and the guy says, like, if you're an Edmonton fan, look away. So very funny. I'm very happy with the trade. I think he's great. He's playing well with Spezza so far. I mean, Spezza's had a lot of wingers in this season alone, but I mean, in the last 3 seasons again, CBC had like a list, and it was like 10 guys long. So I mean, and I think this guy's a very, very good pick. Very, very good fit with Spezza and McCulloch on the other wing. So
he's him and McCulloch are from the same country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think about Czechs. Yeah.
So they've got some chemistry there. He's more of a playmaker who can he'll feed Spezza the puck and he can start shooting again.
Because he's not a shot man.
I know.
He's more of a setup man. But the problem is Spezza's also more of a setup man recently.
Well, I mean, when Spezza had his breakout year, I think 2 years ago, he was shooting the puck.
Oh yeah.
And that caught teams off guard, and it gave him more options on the ice. So I think that's what he needs to do again. He's just start shooting the puck.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an advocate of shoot the puck, none of this fancy stuff going around guys like that. I mean, it looks nice, and when it works, it works.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it doesn't work. I mean, most guys, it's a simple little poke check.
Yeah,
and it plays over.
It's really it's a high risk, low reward.
Yeah. I mean, shots on, shots on, shots on. I mean, I play hockey, and that's all we do. That's all we talk about. Guys, we got to get more shots. We got to get more shots. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't play big time hockey, but
Right.
All right, moving on.
So Braden McNabb and a second round to the Kings. I'm sorry, 2 second-round picks.
McNabb. Let's see if I can find that.
So McNabb, you might not know he's a sort of a top prospect. He's like 23 years old now, something like that.
23 years old, 6'4" defenseman.
Yeah, he's a steady guy, and Hudson Fasching and Nicholas Deslauriers going the other way. I don't know.
Don't know who they are.
I don't know who they are. So McNabb, a top prospect, and it appears to be 2 second-round picks. Seems like a lot.
Fasching was a junior team, world junior with USA. So.
Oh, okay. So maybe he's a top prospect.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Deslauriers, he's an AHLer.
Yeah, he's a big rugged guy, if I'm not mistaken.
20-year-old defenseman. I don't know how you
So moving on, Montreal acquires Devin Dubnyk for future considerations. Doobie doobie doo. Okay, so the next big trade was Marian Gaborik to the Kings.
Doobie doo.
Marian Gaborik to the Kings for Matt Fratton, who was on my calendar.
He's on your calendar.
Just put this down. Hopefully the video is still recording. Matt Fratton.
Matt Fratton.
He's a beauty. I'm a big fan of Matt Fratton. For a second-round pick and a conditional third. I don't know what the conditions are on that. But Marian Gaborik, see that to me, that's another low return. But Gaborik's old, injury problems, high contract, so it makes sense that they don't get much.
Yeah, but Gaborik's also Gaborik.
Yeah, he's
a big name,
high-skilled, big-name player.
He's still got some juice in the tank, and he's old, but he's still got some juice. So,
he's not that old. He's only like 32.
32.
But he's definitely had his fair share of injury problems.
Yeah. Not like David Boland. How's he working out?
Easy. I think it just goes to show that anyone can get cut on the back of the foot there, Carlson. Okay, so moving on.
According to Melnick, that was criminal. You can't prove that.
Marcel Gotch to Pittsburgh. Tuomo Ruutu to the Devils for Andrei Laktianov. He's a pretty good player and a third-round pick. Tim Thomas getting dealt out of Florida, which shows to Dallas. He actually made his debut last night because I don't know if you saw it. I actually want to touch on this later, but Carey Lettinen got run into.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was vicious.
Yeah,
like we talked about the Nazem Kadri hit on Backstrom, and Kadri got suspended 1 game for that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see what this guy gets because that was disgusting, to be honest with you. If you saw,
yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
It was a blatant hit. He had no chance. He had ample chance to stop up, turn. He even just lightly run into me. So right. Bold.
I want to go into that a bit more later. Yeah. So that's next trade.
Not much later. We're running out of time.
No, we still had some time left.
Yeah, we want to make it too long.
Okay, well, Nick Schultz to the Blue Jackets. This one surprised me. Mazzaros to the Bruins for just a third-round pick.
Mazzaros is a good defenseman.
Yeah,
I was honestly very upset when the Senators got rid of him, and I wanted him back obviously, but I mean he's had his injury problems. He's not playing as well as he has been in recent years, but he's still a good defenseman, and he's another stay-at-home defenseman. He's got a wicked shot.
Yeah, he does.
So I mean that shot from the point's dangerous, and honestly. Who was he with? Philly?
Philly, yeah.
And only for a third rounder? They should have asked for more.
That surprises me. And I feel like teams, someone like Edmonton who needs defensemen could have gone out and got him for a third-round pick. I mean, they acquired enough third-round picks in the draft. I mean, on the trade deadline day.
Their whole, the entire third round is going to be Edmonton.
Yeah, so I'm frankly surprised because he's a good player and that return is almost minimal.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Rafael Diaz to the Rangers for a 2015 fifth-round pick.
Yeah.
That's not that big. We're not going to spend
it. Red O'Bear for a second and Mazzaros for a third. Like, what?
What is going on?
I don't.
Like you said, that's that high-end player or mid-end or mid-level player for lower returns.
Yeah, but
and that was the rule of the day.
Yeah.
No one was dealt big for big, except really the St. Louis.
Yeah. But what I'm looking at is Red O'Bear is 25 years old. He hasn't proven himself in the NHL. The Avalanche already have Varlamov and Shigir, and they have Calvin Pickard waiting in the minors. So why are they giving up a second for Red O'Bear? I don't That one, I'm baffled by that one. But
a little
whatever.
weird, a little odd.
That one's just,
Right.
and like I feel like if he got a second, Mazzaros should have got a second. Whatever. Moving on.
Lee Stempniak to the Penguins for a third rounder.
Oh, is that your next one?
Yeah, that's my next
Okay.
one.
Yeah, Pittsburgh again. They just acquire wingers at the deadline all the time.
That's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So
they're a good team. So
they
I mean,
David Legwand to the Red Wings. Because the Red Wings, Datsuk's injured, Weiss is injured, now Darren Helm is injured, so they have injuries down the middle. So they needed a guy like Legwand.
they needed players. Exactly. That's all this trade is. It's just getting bodies.
Yeah. So for Eves,
Patrick
Eves,
Cal Yarncroc,
Callie,
Cal,
and third rounder.
a conditional third rounder. So
one that poses a threat to.
if it bumps, that's even like that's if the Red Wings.
There goes our video.
All right. Well, we're still gonna record.
We're still strictly audio from here on.
Strictly audio from here on. Sorry about that, folks. You can't see our beautiful faces
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But the third rounder becomes a second rounder. Even if the Red Wings even just make the playoffs.
Really?
That's the condition.
Wow. Okay.
Even it's just if they make the playoffs, not even if they get to like the second round. And
right.
Like that.
So that's a lot of return.
It's actually not bad. Yeah.
The next trade. This is a big one that, in my opinion, is very low value for a guy who the Islanders gave up a lot for, which was Thomas Vanek. So Thomas Vanek in a conditional fifth to the Canadiens for Sebastian Goldberg, who is a top end prospect, and a conditional second. And this one poses a threat to Toronto and Ottawa because our two teams.
Yeah, but Thomas Vanek, and he's a great player. I mean, obviously he wasn't getting a lot. He wasn't happy in.
Yeah, he was playing so well in New York.
Yeah, he was playing well, but he wasn't happy. He was visible that he wasn't happy there. Refused to sign, and I think they obviously had to get rid of him.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
it's
a good move on the part of the Islanders.
Yeah,
what did they get in return? I can't find it. So,
Sebastian Kohlberg, who is a higher end prospect.
Okay.
And conditional second.
Right.
So yeah, Vanek. I mean, the Islanders are in a playoff spot because of Vanek. And now they don't get him. Boo-hoo. So another guy, part of that Vanek deal with the Islanders and Buffalo, was Matt Moulson. So Matt Moulson earlier in the offseason was traded to Buffalo for Vanek.
Yeah.
Sorry, to the Islanders.
To the Islanders for Vanek.
No, to Buffalo. I had it right. Okay, that's in the past. So now Moulson dealt to the Minnesota Wild
for they get in return.
Torrey Mitchell and 2 second-round picks.
It wasn't just Moulson when they're Cody McCormick, who's also again a fairly highly touted prospect.
No,
he's not a prospect, but
Cody McCormick is he's a big, tough center.
Yeah,
he's like 28. He's not a prospect though.
Yeah, he might as well be a prospect. No one ever is one.
Okay, well, that's debatable.
He hasn't had a breakout year yet.
Because he's a fourth liner.
Doesn't matter. Every guy has a breakout year.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
You expect Fraser McLaren to break out next year?
Maybe.
No, you're wrong.
Every guy's got a year where whether it's a breakout year in terms of like great scoring or anything, or if it's a breakout year in terms of like, oh, he had like the most hits or something like that.
Don Cherry must hate you because you don't know who this guy is. Okay, so moving on. A goalie swapped. Michael Neuwirth to Buffalo for Yaroslav Halak, who was acquired in the Ryan Miller trade.
I don't have that one.
No? Okay, so
this one.
That's the one where Klesla was dealt to Buffalo.
Oh,
and he's not going to report.
No.
So that one, Washington gets an upgrade in goal, I guess, to make the playoffs. Another small one. Lee Stempniak for a third.
Already went over that one.
Yeah, Dana Tyrell to the Blue Jackets. That one's not very.
That's pretty much it for trades today.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So that's our trade talk.
So yeah, I can't remember if I said this or we said this, but not a lot of trades, but mostly big names.
And that's honestly, it's not always the rule of the day, but it's great that it was like that.
Yeah.
I personally enjoyed hearing about all these trades. I mean, I'm sitting there watching it like, okay, when's the next big guy going to get traded?
Yeah.
I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for Kessler.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly probably the biggest surprise of the day in terms of not being traded.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knew that Kessler wanted to be traded. It was made very, very clear, and
Well, I mean, yes, he wanted to be traded, and it's not clear whether he asked for it or not.
No.
But he said he was fine in Vancouver, and he did not ask for a trade. But it was clearly visible he wanted out. Vancouver wanted to deal him.
And they didn't, I think.
No,
Honestly, they missed out on it.
Yeah.
They could. He's a player who could, if you put him out there, something's going to come back.
Right.
That's significant.
Yeah,
So.
and then I think that was the problem. They're asking prices too much. Because if you look at the Vanek deal and all the other deals, the return just wasn't there this trade deadline. So yeah.
You want to move on?
Yeah. So okay, just quickly moving on to the Lettinen incident.
Letton?
So,
oh yeah.
So I don't know who hit him. Don't know the guy's name, but he I'll describe it the best I can in my colored commentary. Unnamed player is skating down
Player A
is skating down the right wing on a partial break, and then it looks like he got knocked down. But instead of trying to get up or stop himself or lighten the blow, he dropped his shoulder on the head of Kari Lettinen. And then, I don't know if you saw it on the highlights, but Kari Lettinen's helmet gets knocked off, and then the back of his head hits the crossbar.
Oh, jeez.
He was cut above the eye, and he left the game and did not return.
Oh, man.
And
you said earlier, just a disgusting play.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
That has no place in hockey.
Yeah, as a former goalie who has had head injury problems, it was terrible to see. Shut up. It was just, and I was disgusted as a hockey fan at the Nazem Kadri incident.
Yeah.
And he's obviously Maple Leaf, and I'm a fan of his, but what he did was inexcusable, and what this guy did was just like junior C when you're on your last year and you're not making the playoffs.
Okay, I got a comment on that. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now let's move on to baseball.
Let's move on to baseball. All right, baseball kicking into gear. Spring training started a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Jays are doing so-so. Not like last year where they shut out. Start of spring training, they were doing incredible. All the guys were hitting very well, but they're not doing terribly bad.
I mean, it's spring training, so you can't take too much stock into that.
No.
And look how they did last year anyway.
Yeah, the World Series winning Blue Jays at the start of spring training turned into the almost last.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Awful. But there is big news right now in terms of free agents. Jays. Is being shopped around. Well, not shopped around, but he's a free agent, and the Jays are apparently in the running to get a deal with him.
Right.
Very close, apparently. If you don't know who Irvin Santana is,
he pitched for Kansas City last year, if I'm not mistaken. He was a former Angel.
Yeah, he finished with a 3.24 ERA, 1.14 WHIP. I don't even know what WHIP stands for.
Walks and hits per innings pitched.
Okay, there you go. And 3.16 strike to walk ratio, which is actually very good.
Yeah.
For MLB standards, it's very good.
He's a good and the reported agreement in air quotes, because he's still deciding, was 1 year, $14 million. At least on the Blue Jays side. I don't know what, because it's reported that he still is deciding between Baltimore and Toronto. So I don't. Yeah, we don't want to see him in Baltimore.
No,
as Jays fans.
Absolutely, do not go to Baltimore.
But
I'm very happy. I really, really hope that the Jays managed to get a deal with him, because the Jays obviously are lacking in pitching this year. I mean, if they were lacking in pitching last year, then this year is even worse.
I think last year they were lacking due to injury.
Yeah.
This year they're lacking due to they're not lacking in quantity.
No, it's just
but very much in quality.
Exactly.
You look at the fourth spot and you get Drebeck, Hutchinson, Ishmael Rogers. What's that other guy?
I know who you're talking about.
Chad Jenkins.
That's his name.
So there's a bunch of pitchers that can fill in that role. Just how well are they going to do? We don't know.
No.
We don't expect them to do well.
No.
So if you add Santana...
Meanwhile, Romero's thinking, come on, bring me up.
I know.
Bring me up.
Romero, I'm a fan of his. I want to be a fan of his.
Exactly that.
I
want to be a fan, but I mean...
He's a mess right now.
Since his year of dominate, well, not domination, but...
Yeah, 2 years ago, he was an all-star.
Yeah, but I mean...
Sorry, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. Ever since, I mean, he's just been poop.
Yeah, it's been pitiful, and
I want to be a fan. Yeah, it's hard right now to cheer for the Jays.
Yeah,
it's really hard to cheer for the Jays right now. I mean, it's spring training, and we're very optimistic, but I'm not seeing much this year.
Right. Another contender for that fifth pitching spot is Marcus Stroman,
Yeah.
who was last year. He was drafted by the Blue Jays, and he was regarded as the top pitching prospect in the draft. Actually, that's a lie. Most MLB ready.
Liar.
He was regarded as the most MLB ready. As far as his stuff, I don't know too much about him, but I know that he's got a good fastball and he's got a strong arm. I don't know too much on him more than that because
again, Jays and pitching since Halladay left.
Yeah,
pretty much since the World Series wins, the back-to-backs,
really.
They've been a mess.
And
they have been a mess since then. They haven't done anything since then. So I mean,
speaking of Roy Halladay, Ricky Romero's first 100 games as a Blue Jay, were better than Roy Halladay's first 100
really?
games. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I did not know that.
Yeah, I saw that stat 3 years ago when he was pitching well. So like his stuff was there, and it's just a mystery what happened to him.
That's pretty much it for the podcast this week.
So I hope you enjoyed the portions of our video. More technical difficulties, which seems to be the theme on this show.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on the Adrian and Matt podcast.
Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, because everyone cares about that. It'll be in
the description.
Have you picked up
any followers yet? All right.
I haven't even tweeted. Twitter's stupid.
Okay. Yeah,
Twitter's not stupid.
No,
I just don't know how to use it. It's fine. It's
All right.
fine.
See you, folks.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.